You know, this is actually a really nice piece of pine, considering that I just bought it at the big box store. It's mostly clear all the way down here. There's a few knots here, but I can cut around them. So today I'm going to work on a jewelry cabinet, a wall-hanging jewelry cabinet for my wife. She's been asking for one, and she would like it to be painted, which is why I picked up some pine and thin piece of underlay. This is 3/16" thick. This will be the door front and the back of the cabinet. The sides will be pine, and it should be just a pretty simple box. So before we got started, we mocked this up on a piece of bulletin board. My wife hung up some of her necklaces, and so we figured, you know, we need like 16 inches, and as these are really long, you're going to need at least 32 just for the necklaces. So probably to give it a bit of room, I'm going with the 36-inch high cabinet. Down here we're mocking up what we're going to do with the earrings. This is a spool of brass colored chain that we picked up at Michael's, pretty inexpensive, and the earrings can just be hooked into that anywhere along, so you can put them as tight or as loose as you want, and then we can just run as many strings across the cabinet as we need. The frame on the front face of the cabinet is going to be 1/2 inch wide, so I've set up my table saw and I'm going to resaw that down to 1/2 inch of thickness. So the inner frame of the door and the outer frame of the door, I'm going to put them together with some glue and some 23 gauge pins and then clamp them up. So the back panel for my cabinet is this underlayment, which is 3/16 of an inch wide, and I want to set that into a dado in the back of the cabinet. And to cut a 3/16 inch dado is kind of an awkward thing because, you know, your standard blade is 1/8 of an inch wide, so I mean I could make multiple cuts. My dado stack, you know, you put in the dado stack and that's for like wider cuts, and so the way I do that is I've got the dado stack here in the saw, and then I clamp a sacrificial fence to the fence, and then the blade is actually partially embedded in the wooden fence, and you can run your pieces past it and cut yourself a dado. You can do it on the router table, you know, like with woodworking, there's always tons of ways that you can do it. This is one. I'm going to use dowels to join together the main cabinet. As a painted thing, I'm not really looking for anything pretty. I just want something strong. Really, you know, I could just join it with nails and screws and plug them, or, you know, again, I've said this before, there's many ways to do it. I'm using this one. So the neat thing about this Dowel Max jig is that you can take it apart and reconfigure it for different orientations. Earlier it was clamping like this, as I was drilling into the end, but now I'm going to be drilling into the face of the mating piece. So now I need to turn the drilling guide sideways. I've had the jig for years. It's really neat. So I'm using compressed hardwood dowels. When they get wet with the glue, they will expand and lock into the joint. So the inside of the cabinet has been painted white, and the front panel, my wife is going to paint a scene on it of some kind. So that's just a background, but she wanted the outside trim to be black. So that's going to be fun to have a nice crisp edge there without bleeding over onto the white. And I thought about using tape, but then you something could be hiding under the edge of the tape and you wouldn't know it. So I'm just going to freehand it, and we shall, hopefully it'll work out. I just have this I just have it painted white for now. It's going to have some sort of a nature scene on it, but the inside is to be nice and white. So I want it to be removable. That's why it's not glued in. Just fastening it with some number 6 panhead screws. So for the necklaces, I bought a whole bunch of brass colored hooks, and I'm going to place them in a staggered row, double row along these backer boards. And so I need to make lots of marks on it, and I don't want to draw all over them. So I'm going to lay out some painter's tape so that I do not get marks all over the paint. I can put a little punch at every intersection. So these hooks are mounted on separate boards so that if we need to, we can take them out and move them around if we want to reconfigure things. So the whole back has been painted before I put these in. I'm not going to use any glue. Just going to put in a couple of screws from behind. So I have a length of brass colored piano hinge that I'm going to use on the side here. I have the 2 boxes together. Put a little double layer of painter's tape here just to give a little bit of spacing as I'm getting this started. So now the inside is just about done. We have all the hooks mounted here, and now I'm starting on the chain. This is where the earrings will get mounted. And I mounted one chain already 4 inches up, and then the next chain is going to be another 4 inches. Just need a little starter hole. Just put a screw through the end of the chain to fasten it to the side of the container. Then as we pull the chain across, we want to make sure we're keeping it flat so it doesn't twist at all, and so on and so forth. I've got the studs marked, and I know roughly where I need to position it. Just need to get one screw in. That's not working. Well, it turned out that wasn't a stud. My stud finder was lying. That's apparently the main vent pipe. So I had to switch to using drywall anchors, which is fine. It's just I hadn't been planning on that, or I might have done something like a French cleat or something. Trying to line up holes with drywall anchors was not much fun. So anyways, I wondered how the door would close, but looks like I definitely will need a magnet. So I added a rare earth magnet up here, which is just enough to hold it closed, and I threw a few items in to give you an idea what it looks like, but that's really about it. My wife is going to have to sort this the way she wants it, and as I mentioned before, she's going to be working on a painting there. And that's the end of this project. As always, I'd like to thank you for stopping by and spending time in my shop. I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable, and we'll see you next time.